All right, back on the countdown. Mr. DJ, a standard, a classic rock standard. You know the song. Golden Earring with Twilight song at number 36, down from 29 on my fancy playlist of March 18th, 1983. Mr. DJ, Golden Earring. Of course, everybody remembers Radar Love. It was a hit here in the United States back in the summer of 1974. It was a top 40 staple during that summer. Later became a classic rock staple as well. Had an American sound to it, Radar Love. I was surprised later on when I found out that the group Golden Earring, they're actually from the Netherlands. But that American rock and roll sound, that they could have, for all I knew, they probably could have came from Florida or Alabama. But no, they're from the Netherlands, I tell you. All right, Golden Earring. These guys go back. They formed in 1961. And one of the founding members, I got his pronunciation, I try to get his pronunciation, George Koymans. George Koymans, I believe, is the Danish pronunciation of his last name, but I'll just call him George Koymans. I believe that's the English pronunciation. 13 years old when he co-founded this group, Golden Earring. George Coleman's, along with vocalist, well, Barry Hay is another vocalist with the group. Barry Hay, he's the guy who does the intro on this song. He does the spoken intro, he does backing vocals. Although considered the front man or lead vocalist of Golden Earring, he joined the band in 1967, much later. Golden Earring, now here's the thing about Golden Earring. If you're watching this video in the Netherlands, you know the score, you know the story. They've had about 20 hits, Dutch hits, before they got really big here in the States. It took them a long time for them to get big here in the States. Although I did read they had a support from a DJ here in the U.S. who started playing some Golden Earrings records, but they didn't get a lot of traction until Radar Love in 1974. And by the way, that album from which that song came from, it started with an M. I wrote it down. And keep in mind that I just scribble things all over the place. Well, I don't. Well, I thought I had the name of that album down, Moonin', I think, or something like that. Golden Earring got their name. Here's how they got their name. They originally called themselves the Tornadoes, but there was another group called the Tornadoes, and they had that huge hit with Telstar back in the early '60s, Tornadoes. So they changed their name. Get this. They changed their name to Golden Earring. Golden Earring was the name of an instrumental done by a British act that they opened and they closed for, called the Hunters. The Hunters were a British band from the late 50s, early 60s, very, very obscure to a lot of people, I guess. But they did this instrumental called Golden Earring, and they got their name from that. Now get this, God, 1967, they had their first, it might have been, yeah, it was 66, 67, their first number one in the Netherlands, Dong Dong Dickie Digi Dong. And it was from the album, oh, this is lovely. I like trivia like this. It was from the album called 8 Miles High. Yes, taken from the brilliant psychedelic Byrds record back in the spring of 1966. The Byrds having that God, it was electrifying, that record. Had that soaring guitar, 8 Miles High by the Byrds. Well, Golden Earring redid it. Oh boy, did they ever redo it. The album, well, 8 Miles High, the album, the title cut, the Golden Earring version of 8 Miles High, 18 minutes long. And when they toured America in 1969 and 1970, and by the way, they toured America about 13 times, I read, between 1969 through 1983, something like that. At one point in their career, they were doing 200 shows a year. Well, God, oh boy. I mean, these guys, they were hard workers. They're busting ass right and left. I mean, and they were very successful. Well, anyway, on their American tour in 1969, 1970, sometimes they would do a 45-minute rendition of 8 Miles High. Gosh, dog it. I got to listen to their version of that record because the Byrds was just absolutely brilliant. Songs like that helped make the 60s as great as it was. Well, anyway, but let's get and they opened for they played with Hendrix. They opened for Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, and they played alongside them, and they opened for Santana, King Crimson, man, Rush, 38 Special, man, they were rocking. God, dog it. And when Radar Love got big here in the States in 1983, guess who opened for Golden Earring? Aerosmith and Kiss. Yes, indeed. And I got it down. Moontan. Moontan, I believe is how you pronounce it. That's the album for where Radar Love came from. Now, well, let's see. Going to what's that song? Twilight song, written by George Coleman or Coleman's. George Coleman's. He wrote it. 37 weeks now. It said 37 weeks on the singles charts here in the States. I'm taking it to mean that it was 27 weeks on Billboard's Hot 100. That's pretty phenomenal. That's a lot. A lot of big hits on Billboard's Hot 100 for 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 weeks, 27 weeks. That's killer. Absolute killer. Went to #1 in the Netherlands. No surprise there. Twilight Song went to #5 in Belgium, #10 here in the United States. Yes, they did. They had two huge hits in the States. Radar Love, and then there was Twilight Song. Twilight Song coming in at #36 on my fantasy playlist of March 18th, 1983.